Did you ever hear the word breaking news? Well, the word that stands out the best is yet to come. But do you really know what it is? Well, you have to stay tuned in America and find out. This man grew up on Long Island, New York, where he went to college at Stony Brook University on Long Island. This man made history by becoming the first fourth-degree black belt at Mr. Lee's school in Darien, Connecticut. He is a respected instructor, where the students love him. Don't take my word for it. Just listen.
Been a great influence in my life and school here due to his continuing to stress good techniques and positive thinking. He makes everything that he does look extremely easy when it's very difficult to do. And that's a very good guide for me to try to strive for, to work towards his influence.
He is our senior belt, and all the belts here look up to him, from the white belts all the way up to the third-degree black belts. He is the center here. Next to Master Lee, there is nobody that we look up to as much. He means a lot to everybody at the school.
One of the finest persons I've ever met. His martial arts training has been extensive and excellent, and he practices that excellence both on and off the mat. Bye.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Person to Person. My guest today is accomplished martial artist and a fourth-degree master and a role model to students. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Master John Bately. John, it's nice to meet you here today.
Good to be here.
The first question I'm very eager to ask you is, how did you get involved with martial arts? What led you to martial arts?
I've been involved and interested in martial arts since I was a very young boy, 8 or 9 years old. And I actually started training when I was in college. I took a judo class as part of the course requirement at the State University of New York at Stony Brook, and I continued on since then. So I've been training a long time.
Now, you started at 9 years old. That's incredibly young to start. What led you to start at such a young age?
Well, I was interested at that age, and I got books and I started to work with myself, practice. But it wasn't until I got to the university that I actually took classes when I was about 19 years old.
I've heard there are 5 steps in karate. Can you tell me a little bit about those 5 steps?
Well, there are 5 different areas that we get involved with. One has to do with basic techniques, kicking and punching. Another one is forms, where you actually do prearranged motions that represent defending in many different directions. We have self-defense, and we also get involved with board breaking, which demonstrates focus and power.
Now, are there any other kinds of martial arts that are taught at Mr. Lee's school, where apparently you're involved with?
Yes, I'm the senior student in karate, but he also teaches judo and hapkido. Judo is more throwing techniques, it's more of a sport. Hapkido is also a self-defense related art that's more involved with throwing techniques and holds. And karate is more punches and kicks, which is what I'm involved with.
Now, was Mr. Lee's school the first school you went to, or have you been to other schools as well? And if so, can you tell me a little bit about them?
Sure. I started at Stony Brook, like I mentioned, and since then I've trained in a number of schools. I started karate in 1973 in New York City when I was working there. I also trained in Washington, D.C. and Virginia, and also on Long Island, where I got my first-degree black belt. But I've been at Mr. Lee's school for 25 years now. It's an excellent school. He's the best master I've ever had the pleasure to work with. He's a very gifted martial artist and cares about his students very much.
And if you were to describe the difference, say, between his school and some of the other schools you've been to, what would that difference be?
I think the primary difference is the level of teaching that he gives. He teaches white belts himself. He's a 9th degree black belt, which is the highest black belt you can achieve while still alive. So he's a very high level black belt, and yet he still teaches all the white belts himself, and he takes great interest in all his students. He's produced 2 national champions, a 7-year-old and a 30-year-old, from that little school it's actually in Darien.
Now, you yourself are a black belt. Have you ever taught anybody? Have you taken some students under your wing?
Oh, sure. So when I got my first degree black belt, My master left for Korea for 3 weeks, so my partner and I both were teaching for 3 weeks straight. That was in 1978, and I've been teaching ever since. As a first degree black belt, you're expected to teach. As a master, when you reach fourth degree, that's your primary responsibility.
Now, after you became a master, I hear that you established some sort of history, that you did something that was unique. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was and how it made you feel?
Yeah, sure. I was the first fourth degree black belt at Mr. Lee's school, the first master. It was a great honor and a great privilege to be the first one at that school. It's such a great school. And I've learned a great deal from Mr. Lee over the years. It's been a wonderful experience.
And how would you describe the overall experience of both learning from and then teaching under Mr. Young?
On Lee.
Right, excuse me, forgive me.
No problem. It's been a very broadening experience. I learned a great deal from Mr. Lee, both in terms of on the mat and off the mat. Mr. Lee teaches us to apply all that we learn in the martial arts to everyday life. It's very, very important, the discipline, the self-confidence. I started my own business some time ago, and the discipline and concentration I learned was a great asset. And he's helped many, many men, women, and children over the years to improve their lives. That's really what his school is about. It's not just the basic martial arts. It's learning to apply them to everyday life.
Well, that's very interesting. I want to thank you very much. Today you have met someone who's very well respected in the art of karate. The talents he has proven to us have really made it an exciting talk, and we'd like to thank Master John Beatty for being with us here today. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Nice to have met you. I just want to say thank you for joining us today for this edition of Person to Person. Please stay tuned for our next episodes. And we thank you again. I'm your host, Peter Butel, thanking you for spending this time with us. Good afternoon.